Good morning. I found a notepad from last year, and I have written something very interesting in here. This was around the beginning of July or end of June, must have been around that time. So what I had written is, what is the void that is missing in my life? What is the void that is missing in my life? And this must have come in from my coach, because the page before this, I have written so many good things that had happened this year, which was last year, with my coach. She had prompted to write me that. And this was a very difficult time for me. I was in the thick of my separation, thick of my divorce, and a very difficult time for me. And I have written this. What is the void that is missing in my life? I don't think that Benita understood what it was, or even though maybe, my coach, my therapist may have mentioned about what the void was, that I would have understood it. I could have understood it at that time. And now it's almost like October, end of October, almost July, August, September, October, almost more than almost close to a year and a half. I know what is that void now, and I have been able to fill that void for myself. You know what that void was? Self-love. Being there for myself. Being the adult that I needed as a child. Becoming emotionally available to myself. That was the void that was missing in my life. All in all, self-worth was missing. I also believe self-worth isn't something that you build overnight too. It takes time. Every week passes by, I find myself having more and more self-worth of myself. But that Benita was building it. She had taken the biggest decision of her life by that time, to leave a 7-year marriage, to go against an entire generation of her family, to go through divorce. Yeah. She was missing the ability to love herself, to be available for herself, to be emotionally available to herself, to give the love that she deserved, that she didn't receive as a child, which meant as an adult, no matter how much love she received from others, nothing was going to be enough, because nothing can replace the love that you should have received when you were a kid. That was the void. That was the void. So sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, as adults, we seek something from outside of us. We seek the love that we didn't receive as a child. We look for the validation We look for the flowers, we look for the everything that you have been missing when you were a kid. But here's the reality. You will never receive those because your childhood is gone. You're an adult now. So you can never go back to your childhood and give that to you, right? So it is always going to be a wound. It is always going to be a void that no one can come to your life to fill that. But only when you become aware of yourself that this is why I have this void and how can I give this to me now, while at the same time go through grief what you didn't receive as a child, unless you are fully aware of the void while you give that to yourself, you will never be able to complete that void. That void is something that you're always going to have. But you have to learn to be aware of that. When you're looking for something outside of you, when you're looking for love from outside of you to fill that void, you have to be aware that that void will never be fulfilled. You have to be aware that you're willing to give that to you now. You're willing to give that to yourself now, but that's a void that would always be there. You have to acknowledge those. You have to grieve those. And grief is interesting because I find that you don't truly, go get over the grief because, initially when you become aware, you grieve a lot often because there's years and years and decades of build up. But as time goes by, you find time to grieve. Every couple months, every couple weeks, I will have to take time to grieve. Grieve the love that I didn't receive as a child. Because if not, that grief kind of starts to stack up and it starts to make your body uncomfortable. Like for me, I was finding that my shoulders was kind of getting a bit heavy. My neck was getting heavy, and so that's where grief, my chest was getting heavy. That's where grief stays. So you have to take time as an adult to grieve the loss of the childhood you never had, the mother you never had, the father you never had. You have to grieve those. And then it kind of goes away from your body, and then after a while it comes back again. You have to grieve those. But if you never grieve them, it only gets worse. The heaviness just gets heavier, your body gets heavier. Yeah, and all the physical symptoms start. It is quite fascinating to me how this thing works, and not my knowledge by any means. My therapist taught me this, and I try to implement them, and it's working for me. Yeah. So let me ask you this question. What is the void that is missing in your life? And hopefully, and although I acknowledge that not all healing journey is the same. They all are unique in their own ways, but maybe you will get to that place of learning your void sooner. Maybe tonight, who knows? Tomorrow, a week from now, or for like me, a year, or many years. And that's okay. That's okay. Every healing journey is different. But healing is necessary.